Family is Shay Seeking, and this is Not Your Mama's Bible Study, along with a little bit of his stories, lies. Um, Again, go ahead and hit the thumbs up if you enjoy the content, and don't forget to join us in the Facebook group American Aborigines Unchained. So yeah, this is a book from, I believe, the 1800s, maybe 1861, possibly. And it says Negro Slavery Unjustifiable, a sermon. Okay. So, Negro slavery unjustifiable, a discourse. Okay, so again, this is so funny because I was just about to say, remember a sermon when we did, no, we didn't because I haven't put it up yet. But when I did the etymology for sermon, the main thing I took from it is a discourse or lying or manipulating or something that is a lie, okay? Or yeah, basically that. It's a discourse. Okay. So then now we go down and it clears it up, a discourse. Okay. So again, I don't know if that's saying that this work is a discourse or if it's talking about the discourse that has occurred. Okay. So it says, whosoever looketh unto the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. And this is, I don't know if that's talking about the Bible or whatever, but yeah. So it says the author of the discourse had a call presented to him in November 1800. Now remember, okay, because I'm about to go in on just Nat Turner, and we're just going to go ahead and do some stuff that I lined up that sounds very similar to the book of Acts and Nat Turner and the Christ in Nat Turner. So, in the Lord and Nat Turner. So, again, I remember from just last night looking into this that the his revolt or insurrection, that whole thing occurred from November 1800 till November 1831. So again, we mainly only talk about the things that occurred right in 1831. I didn't even know that it was all the way back to 1800. So to take the pastoral charge of a congregation in the county of Orange in the state of New York, he perceived among the subscribers the name of some who he knew to be holders of slaves. He doubted the consistency of enslaving the Negroes with the Christian system and was willing to enter into a full ecclesiastic communion with those who continue to the practice. Okay. So he hesitated to accept the call, but took an early opportunity of writing to the elder of the church and of intimating, okay, um, to the Presbyterian or Terry, his sentiment respecting slavery. Okay, so let's see. The reform has judicially condemned the practice and warned their connection against it. This produced an additional evidence of the force of Christian principle. It triumphed over self-interest, and in several parts of the United States have men sacrificed on the altar of religion. Okay, so again, sacrifice doesn't always mean that somebody is actually dying, like, and being, like taking their last breath. It also has symbolic measures, and lots of times that is what we're talking about, especially in the Bible. Okay. Okay, on the altar of religion, the property which the civil law gave them and their fellow men. There is not a slaveholder now in the communion of the Reformed Presbytery. A sense of duty determined the author to commit this discourse to the press. Okay. In the publication, now again, the fact that it's saying a discourse, I don't know what this is talking about. I don't know if this is trying to look like something that is not, giving us the impression of something that is not, or, I don't know. So I just thought it was interesting and I wanted to share one part with you. So in the publication of it, he has particularly in view the instruction and establishment of those inhabitants. So again, the inhabitants would not be possibly the slaves, I'm thinking. It would be whoever else, the ones that are over, particularly the slaves, okay, of Orange, who have placed themselves under his pastoral care, okay. So through them he addressed all into whose hands the discourse may come, if the reminder shall be pleased to bless it, and render it the means of ameliorate, uh, mm, ameliorating, I don't know, I've never seen that word before, the bondage, or of procuring the liberty of any miserable African. Okay. Um, the author shall receive more than a recompense. Okay. So let's keep on going. So holding men in perpetual slavery, condemned. He that stealeth a man and stealeth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. Now, okay, so again, um, let's see. So even talking the Nat Turner thing and the biblical thing, okay. So it says something about the fact that uh, there was another book that I pulled up that said something to the fact of you see these Africans that are being imported in, but then it says we have just been basically captured and sold or something to that manner. Okay, so it was talking about two different groups, and I just brought that up because it said something about the African at the end, but uh, there was a separation, even in other texts that I found, that there were certain rules for the American, the American Aborigine or so-called Negro, and then there was something else that was pertaining to the African Negro in America. And what it was doing was separating the two, so that you know that there was a difference between the two. So you just have to really, pay attention when you're reading these old things like this. Okay, so let's just read this first part, and then we'll go to the page that I wanted to look at. Okay, let's see. I'll just skim through it. He is the source of all power and flow. Maker and natural power of man is under the law of God. He is indeed a free agent, but the divine law circumscribes his sphere of action. Okay, impunity, and exerts his natural power under direction of law. Okay, so let's go to page 20 because what was that? Okay, maybe we'll just read that one another time. I don't know. All the good stuff is usually, I mean, of course, it's good to read through the whole thing, but again, we uh, seekers don't always read through the whole thing. Sometimes we just need to find something, or we'll be led to something, and then that's what we have, and then we just keep the books around in case we have to go back into them. So let's see. Okay, practices. Okay. Nations as such have no existence in a future state. They must accept national judgment in the present. Distributive, distributive justice will measure their punishment according to their criminality. Oh, America. And you know what that reminds me? Oh, Israel. In the Bible. But again, I'm not saying that that's what it is. What has thou to count for on the head of slavery? Let's make this a little bit bigger and make it a little better for me. I was dealing with blurred vision today. That was kind of, a little bit like, what the hell is going on? For a little while. Maybe I just need to really get some glasses. So, um, okay. Thou alone of all the nations now on the earth. See, the earth is you. See, the earth has something to do with you. It has something to do with nature. And also, when we're looking at the Bible, lots of times this is speaking of, the oldest people or the original people of a place. Okay. Didst commission thy delegates in peace and security from the overawning menaces of a tyrant or of a faction to form thy constitution. Thou didst possess, in a particular sense, the light of reason. Again, here we go talking about the light, and there's a spiritual and a physical aspect to that, and the symbolic aspect as well. So, of science, of revelation, of past argumentation, and of past experience, thou hast thyself formally condemned the principle, and in the most solemn manner made an appeal to heaven for the justice of thy cause. Heaven heard and answered agreeably to thy wishes, yet thou didst contradict a principle so solemnly asserted. Thou hast made provision for increasing the number and continuing the bondage of thy slaves. Now notice we're using a lot of thy, all this stuff is, this is the way that they, it's just funny when you start looking at the lingo when things were written and how things are written kind of like the same way in the Bible, again, which I tell you guys everything about how and when we got this word, before the 1900s, when it was available to mostly all people, is questionable. Okay. So yeah. Bondage of thy slaves, thy judgment may tarry, but that they will assuredly come. And then the asterisk is going to lead us down here. Individuals are also in danger. Okay. So the Declaration of Independence has these words: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. But again, men doesn't necessarily, I'm recording. You should have after the video. Okay. Please close my door. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Now, again, I mean, look, discourse or not, I'm going to tell you what I feel from reading this without reading this book. When it says that all men are created, that may be so. But when we're talking about all of these men, we're talking about the ones in the certain portion of, we'll just pull it up. Okay, so when we're talking about this, these are the groups that we're talking about. See, these are the groups. I'm guessing they're saying that it was supposed to include this group here, which is the Aborigine or the original people that have been tilled or replenished or subdued by the governing forces. And then the enmity between her seed, which is America, and his seed or men's seed. And these are the women or the wives, okay? So again, this is the enmity between, and this is what gives them certain privileges, because this is the sense of supremacy here. This is the real part of the supremacy. This is just their children. These are the children of God who live or reside in heaven legally in the abode of God or the house of God. Okay. And then these are the ones that are underneath in the Sheol or in hell. Okay. So again, when we're talking about all men, I feel as though that is what exactly what it's saying. So I don't know if this is something that is something of a discourse, or not. Okay. Okay. So, okay, here it is.